hands up.
We gonna kill every last one of them.
Hi, it's Paul from Paul's World of Movies, and today we're looking at a film called The Choral. It's a British movie, a comedy, British comedy, and it stars Ralph Fiennes. Now, it starts off being, well, it's set in the 1916 First World War, and it features around, or it all stems around this choir, which unfortunately is losing a lot of its regular singers due to the First World War. And to the most of the people at this stage in the war, it's kind of a inconvenience. It's not seen as the war that it will eventually turn out to be, the disastrous war for everybody, basically. But in 1916, like I say, it's mostly a nuisance to this small village or small town with this choir problem. Now, on top of the losing a lot of the men, all of a sudden the choral master, I believe that's the term, has gone to war, and he's gone. So there's a vacancy there for the choral master. They've got a production coming up shortly, and the board, who they're frantically complaining about the war, but not but are more worried about their choir. So they find they're desperately looking for anybody who they think will be able to manage this choir to the standard that they want, and this standard is quite high, going by the way the film develops. So their best shot turns out to be Ralph Fiennes, a man called Dr. Guthrie. Now, on the face of it, sounds great. He's highly qualified, very obsessed with music in particular. Where the problem seems to be, though, is he's been living in Germany for several years prior to returning lately, where he's just come back from, and he will sing the praises of the German art and culture. Not so much the war. He's kind of not focused on the war, so he doesn't really see the problems that the board will fill with the idea of the connection with Germany. So that's kind of where some of the humour comes in. Like there's a scene where they ask where this quote that Ralph Fiennes states, which is a beautiful quote, and they mention where it comes from, and of course it comes from a German. It's things like that. So it's funny and in places, this film. Running along with this is the new members of the choir and what's happening for them involved with the war. Like there's some new choir members who fancy a couple of the girls that are there, so that's where they've joined. And they're under 18, and they're getting a bit nervous because they realise they're going to go to the front line at some point. And that's quite sort of stressful and a little bit upsetting for the young men, because they feel like they haven't lived, and of course at 16 they haven't really done much at all probably with their lives at this stage, and they're worried about dying already. So there's that sort of dilemma. There's their chasing of the young girls, and as well as that, there are other dynamics in the film. A lady, one of the ladies in the choir's husband has gone to war and hasn't returned, and because she doesn't know what's happened to him, she is just kind of feels that maybe he's passed away, and so she's not sure where she sits in the big scheme of things and in the community, because if she moves on, she will be seen in a bad light, and if she stays where she is, she's lost and lonely and doesn't know where to go with her life. So there's another dilemma. So there's those issues that are going on here. So now now I'm talking about it. It doesn't sound so funny, and there are some funny moments in it, but there are some sort of dark, comedic, funny sort of situations as well. After all, they're trying to make fun of the First World War, which isn't really a topic to make a great deal of fun with. So they're on a bit of a razor edge the way they walk down through this film, because yeah, sure, it was a horrendous time of history for everybody, and not just the British, the Americans, or even the Germans. It was everybody were involved in this, hence the title World War, or the Great War as it was originally known before World War II. So there's that sort of dilemma, and the comedy sometimes I feel falls a little flat because of that, because of the subject matter. But hey, it's still quite an entertaining movie. There is a lady, or I won't talk about too much, who has an interesting side job, shall we say, that's involved with the choir, but that comes out later on, which is a little bit amusing. The film itself, it obviously stars Ralph Fiennes. He's the big star in this film, but there's a couple of stars that I haven't seen on the big screen for a few years, and it's lovely to see them again. There's Mark Addy, who was in The Full Monty and A Knight's Tale. He's back. He's one of the ones that does the comedy lines and lightens the mood a little. And then there's a man who's in everything, but we never sort of notice him, unfortunately, and that's Alan Armstrong. He's been around for years. Like I say, if you actually watch or look at his film credits, he's been in some of the biggest films of the last 20-30 years, but he's kind of a side character quite often, or he's got very short scenes, and unfortunately we don't get to see the benefit of this guy's talents. But it's great to see them back on the big screen, so hopefully they'll keep coming. So the film itself looks great. It's beautifully set in this small town. Excuse me, Eugene. And the music is cool, especially, and except for where it's not supposed to be. So yeah, it's great. It's a good film. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would recommend it to go see it. It's not going to appeal to everybody, but it is a good. It's almost a family film, but there are some quite smutty jokes in it as well, which. Well, I won't say surprised me, but I don't know, it just didn't seem, from 1916, maybe it was a bit more reserved than that, but that's fine, there's no worries. And any younger people in the audience who watch this may not understand the innuendo of it all, but hey, it doesn't really matter. Excuse me, it doesn't matter that much. I would recommend it to be seen ideally on the big screen, because as you know, I'm a big fan of going to the movies. However, it's a sort of film that wouldn't be harmed, or you wouldn't lose anything by waiting for it to come on the streaming services. But yeah, I'll always sort of push the big screen version rather than the streaming. But hey, not everybody can be as free to go to the cinema as me, for instance, at this time. So yeah, so you by all means, I would definitely watch it and see what you think. Let me know if you get the chance to see it, or maybe you've already seen it, and let me know what you think. I was a little. The only thing I will just final with the comments is I just felt with the sort of dark humour and the lighter humour mixed in with the drama, at times it felt like the film didn't know quite what it was aiming for. Toward the end, there's a little segment, the last probably 2 or 3 minutes, which seems to suggest that they're just going to talk about what happened to everybody. But it sort of starts around where the 3 young boys that are throughout the film get on the train to go to war. And there's a comment made by one of the older men that says, it's funny, when this first started, the mayor was here, there was a big band and everybody cheered and the whole village came out and saw all the men off, and said, now we haven't got anybody. There's no music, there's nothing. We just do a quick wave and we go. And at this time, there are literally a few family members seeing their boys off. And that's quite sad. These people are risking their lives and they don't even get a good send-off. But it kind of hints at the more emotional side of the situation, and drops the the comedy all of a sudden toward the end. It's a little of a strange ending for me. I just thought if you get, most of these type of films go off on a high, and I would have liked to have seen that happen here. But I mean, I'm not the director, and maybe the director was looking for something different as opposed to that, you know, the more obvious, a big high at the end. So and wanted us to remember that it, after all, was a war. And yeah, and I get that, but it just seems strange why it was, there was some comedy in it, even if it's dark comedy at times, in this film. But hey, it's a fun film, it's a good film. And so I would give it, just to give you an idea of what I think, I gave it a 6 out of 10, which in my book is reasonable. Anything above 5 is worth seeing. So yeah, by all means, go and see it and enjoy it. And I hope you do enjoy it. And for those of you who may or may not see me at some point, I'll see you at the movies.
See you later, you cutie patootie.